And now please welcome to the stage their host, me. Right. Thank you for joining me here, everyone. Try not to wheel this chair too much because there are camera positions that I'm not allowed to ruin. We're going to start off quite simply by who everybody is. You are all joined, your commonality is that you've all been showcased in the Ensemble showcase this year. You've all had that really delightful moment where you went to Trafalgar Square on Monday and had your faces blown up to, I'm told, 35-foot tall blimp proportions for everyone in London to enjoy. But for those who may not have seen those displays or are maybe learning about this program for the first time, please, if you could just go ahead and introduce yourselves. You've got microphones on the table there, and as you're the first to pick up yours, you're going to be the first to introduce yourself.
Of course I am. So my name is Deanne, or people know me as Indidi. I am a content creator, business owner, and lead organizer for Link Up London.
Hi, I'm Haroon. Currently, I am a game developer tutor at Caldale College. I'm also an indie developer for my smaller indie studio, Bad Reaction Games. And I'm also the head of training at Limit Break, and also have a background in production and QA in the games industry as well.
I have to match that now. Hi everyone, I'm Haz. I'm the founder of Beyond the Pixels, and we're making our first indie game called Astroburn, which you can play in the back there, by the way. And before that, I worked as a film and TV director on a bunch of projects. And the last one's Dune Awakening, the cinematics.
Hello everyone, I'm Christopher White. I'm the managing director and founder of Shark Swim Backwards. We're a game development studio and audio outsourcer predominantly. And yeah, I've been in the industry for a long time, contributing to a lot of projects along, and it's been a wild ride.
Howdy all, I'm Charlie Webb, writer and narrative designer. I've been in the industry for 20 years now. My most recent release was Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League. And yeah, I'm representing the Florida Water Trash contention.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Estaris. I am the founder of Estaris Works. We are working on a game about civic engagement and anti-polarization. I also consult on games and sustainability. And prior to that, I directed Monument Valley 3, which is about climate resilience, flood resilience, and is nominated for a BAFTA this year.
Huge congratulations on that. Please, one more round of applause, please, for our panelists. Really great mix of people here in the room. Love to see it. So, with all of these questions, we'll kind of go like up and down, kind of Mexican waving it. I hope that doesn't get too confusing for the audience and that we can all keep track of what's going on next. We're going to kind of start with the basics, getting into the industry, humble beginnings and all of that. So I'm going to start with you, Jennifer, as you are the closest to me. Could you give us a little bit of an idea of what were those first steps into the industry? Was it an immaculate realization one morning that you woke up and you just knew you had to be here and you made it happen? Was it slow burn? Did it fall into your lap by accident? What was your path into this industry?
I think I've always loved games, but it wasn't until I was in grad school for creative writing, taking a class in game design, that I got lured into the dark side, and here I am today. So yeah, follow your dark side, I think is the moral.
In my case, it began like all great things in the early 2000s with a Craigslist post. I answered a job for a small mobile studio in New York, and I just kind of got hooked. Writing, branching narrative games, and the projects got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the industry got more and more scary.
I decided to pursue a career in games pretty much from going to university. So coming out, I had a pretty clear idea what it was I wanted to do. When leaving university, it wasn't the best climate for the game industry. It was, turbulent. Studios weren't really hiring, a bit like they aren't now. So essentially the route I took was to kind of found my own audio outsourcing studio. And what benefited from that was I was able to find teams that were able to utilize my skill set. And it was a big help because obviously what you need in this industry to be successful is repetition. You need practice, you need progress, you need to keep doing the role. So if you can find a way to do that consistently, that will leave you in good stead for when you actually want to join a studio or continue down a freelance path.
That's rich. I actually can relate to that. I was the kid that didn't go out and play out of his friends. All right, I was that kid. So I was at home, I'll be like, downloading every piece of software I can, learning it, making stuff. And we didn't have the internet back then, so I'll go to the print shop, print stuff out, and then try to send stuff out to studios, and so many rejections. Oh my God, so many no's I got. And then one studio called Davis Studio back in '98 said, well, coming for an interview, your portfolio sucks, but we like the energy, what's in there. We're a bit of training, so I got very lucky, but it's persistence. I just kept sending, and eventually, once you get your foot in the door, then it's up to you to keep going and just keep getting better and learn from as many people. I was the first person in and the last person out. I was that guy.
So yeah, so for me, I knew from like a very early age that I wanted to work in the games industry. I didn't really know like the different sort of paths at the time, so I kind of had the generic idea of, oh, I want to be a game designer. So when I finished secondary school, I learned about like the educational route through like college, university. I originally wanted to go into the games industry as an artist, but that didn't kind of work out the way that I hoped. But I did find like a different career path through initially QA. I then went into still games adjacent with like education, so I actually ended up teaching at the college I studied at. So I definitely ended up doing the whole those who can't do teach sort of situation. But then after a few years of teaching, I was developing my skill sets. Like being a teacher really pushed me to develop my animation, my 3D skills, because I wanted to be the tutor that I wanted when I was a student. So I was like, right, I can't like mess around here. I need to know what I'm talking about. So I was pushing my skills. I was networking with like, say, Gamma Your Games Republic that's in Yorkshire. But then I had this kind of this hunger and drive to be like, you know what, I want to be in the games industry. I want to get back into it. And so it's similar to what you were saying as well. Like I was applying for like different jobs. I sent like say 50 applications, and I managed to get a job at Cloud Imperium Games that do Star Citizen, who also played it, as a QA tester. And so I really enjoyed my time as a tester. Like I think in my first 3 months, I did get promoted to embedded environment art tester, and I never knew that embedded QA was a thing. So, and how you can actually create a career in QA, and I fell in love with QA. So I was like, oh, I'm going to stick with this for I think nearly 4 years there. So I fell in love with QA. I didn't really have that kind of desire to kind of become an artist. I mean, I was embedded, so I could have gone into art to push myself there, but I just fell in love with QA, and then I was still hungry for more. As you well know, Jonas, I love to do like STEM work and push myself, promote the games industry, like to like everyone get involved with Limit Break to the point of like doing too much. Like you've said to me so many times, like, Haru, you need to calm down, you're doing too much. But I just love kind of being involved in the games industry, not just as a vocation, but being a part of the community and the people around it.
And I guess for me, I never thought that I would be in this kind of industry. Like my whole plan was to open my own restaurant because, you know, I love cooking, and I actually studied for hospitality management, you know, got my degree and everything like that. So gaming was never on the agenda, even though I've been a gamer since I was a kid. When I was at uni, there were jobs going for Sega for QA, and I'm like, oh, there are no girls there. Yeah, sure, why not? I got in the door that way. I was a QA tester there for about 4 years, worked my way up the ladder to a lead. And then after that, you know, because gaming's my life, I found out about Twitch, started streaming there, built up from, you know, a streamer to a Twitch ambassador, started doing events for Twitch, and then I thought, you know what, I love to help creators. So I created Beyond, which is my agency, and trying to get creators to where I am now.
That's a really wonderful set of answers and such a huge, diverse kind of range of experiences in the industry. A lot of QA representation. More, I mean, it's a common starting point, I know, for a lot of the industry, but it's lovely to see how that has kind of given you the trajectory to go do your own thing in the industry later. And who would have known, starting a restaurant? I look forward to seeing Cooking Mama, you know, Ensemble edition or something like that in the future.
We will have it in the works. It's coming.
So from humble beginnings to being spotlighted in Ensemble, there are going to be moments in your career that you feel for you were maybe sort of like, they could have been the ignition, the thing that started that flame and kept you going. It could be that 90-degree left turn that took you in a very different direction than what you were expecting, which is something you guys have already touched on already. We really want to talk about those defining moments now when you look back at your careers, and of course, when you're forced to kind of maybe explain your career in just a few bullet points. What were those defining moments? And I think more importantly as well, what was your attitude when they approached? Did they fall into your laps? Did you have to push past some really difficult hurdles? Or did you just have to be a bit of a yes man, just saying yes to every opportunity that came up until suddenly you realized that this defining moment was in your careers? And we're actually going to come back the other way. So yeah, please take it away.
Yeah, so I think for me, my most defining moment probably started when I was streaming. I was part of a organization called Black Girl Gamers, which I'm still part of. And, their whole thing is to push people into the limelight. And then I realized, when people were watching what I was doing, they were enjoying the content. I was going to events and people were like, oh my God, you're that girl from that thing that we watched the other day. And I'm like, yeah. So, things like that made me self-internalize, I can do this. And any opportunity that I got, I took it. However, not every opportunity works out. But, from that, I was just growing, learning from the mistakes, turning them from L's to W's. That's for me.
This is kind of a hard question. So I think the defining moment for me, I think it must have been when I was at Cloud Imperium, when I was working as QA, because I enjoyed doing the QA work, but I still had that hunger to educate as well, because I love, if you have anyone who's friends or family who work as a teacher, they'll tell you the same thing. Being in the classroom is great, but the paperwork side sucks. And I really missed being in a classroom and teaching young people. And so as I was doing my QA work, I was finding STEM opportunities in my local area, because I'm dual heritage, so I really wanted to kind of give back to the community in Bradford, because Bradford, if you've ever been to West Yorkshire, it's got a very diverse population. There's a lot of South Asian heritage there, Pakistani, Indian, etc. And so I wanted to kind of go into schools and kind of show, even though I'm dual heritage, quite light-skinned, I wanted to kind of show there is a place for you in the industry. So I loved going into say primary schools and stuff, and wanted to kind of promote the games industry in that way. I do remember actually one point when I've been to a few primary schools, and I was on a hike with some of my friends, and there was a kid in front of me. He turned back and he double-taked, and he was like, oh, I remember you, sir. You came into our classroom talking about the games industry. And I was like, oh my God, you actually remembered me. And I'm you never know that could be a spark for someone to kind of keep going. And so stuff like that kind of kept me going. So it's I want to kind of develop my knowledge and skills in QA and refine that those skills and that career, but also at the same time I was I want to keep promoting the games industry to everyone and everybody, especially QA, making that to be more a viable career option. And that kind of kept pushing me to say yes to more opportunities. I know I shouldn't say yes to everything, but I remember because I was doing so much STEM work and I was posting it on social media, and I suck at social media, I was oh, I'm doing this talk at this school or this place, to a point where CRC Press, they do a lot of games education books. They reached out to me to be hey, we're doing this series called the Pocket Mentor series. Would you be interested in writing for it? And I just said, sure, why not? That's a very rare opportunity. So I had to do my day job and then write a book about QA at the same time. So again, just being my own worst enemy, just taking on more and more stuff. But it was something that I love doing. So even though there were some times where I was just exhausted, I have that drive, that passion to kind of keep educating and promoting the games industry to everyone.
I love there's a commonality there, by the way, where one of the things that kind of sparked you the most was actually another person recognizing you and seeing that you have done something for them in this industry, that you've raised awareness of your roles and what you do in the industry, which is obviously what Ensemble is as a program. So I hope that theme continues. Haz, please take it away.
I don't know if I'm going to follow that theme, but I'm going to try. With me, this is a bit, I'm going to put a disclaimer. Don't try this at home, kids, okay? I took a lot of risks. So I'll give you an example. I worked in visual effects for a long time. I worked on movies, TV shows, and so on. In between, I would make short films, right? Because I wanted to be a filmmaker, right? So I made a short film called Project Kronos, a fake documentary, think Spinal Tap in NASA, right? The thing went viral. It got a lot of recognition. I got signed by an agent, by a manager in LA. I'm woo, I'm done. No, 2 years later, I'm still working in visual effects. I haven't made a movie. So I'm speaking to everyone. They're I'm like, when am I going to make my movie? When am I going to get my Gareth Edwards moment, or Josh Trank, or Neil Blomkamp? They're like, yeah, these things take time. I'm like, yeah, I ain't got time. So, disclaimer. Remember the disclaimer, guys? So I had some money saved up for a mortgage. Yep. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to make the movie myself. I have 1 million views, I have the metrics, and I spoke to every distributor in Los Angeles why relationships are super important, like take those meetings. And I'm like, what are you guys looking for in 2 years' time? They're like, don't try to make Star Wars for a low budget, no matter how talented you think you are. Stay grounded. Look at movies like Monsters, for example. So, long story short, the film comes out 2018, called The Beyond. It was number 2 in the iTunes charts, next to Blade Runner 2049 and Wonder Woman. In April, we get our sales report back. The film cost 50 grand, by the way, mortgage deposit, okay? And we had made 400% in profit. And in September, Netflix said, hey, why are we not taking this movie? And they do a ridiculous deal. So my point is, I've always taken risks. And that was a spark for me. I'm like, if no one's going to give me the opportunity, I'm not going to wait for permission. And I'm not saying go and spend 50 grand. I'm just like, take those risks, right? Fail fast. And I've done other risks later on, right? I did a movie called Max Beyond. Epic Games financed it, part of the mega grant. It didn't do too well, but that's okay. You move on, but move on fast. And I guess that's been my spark.
I respect it. I have a mantra, there's 2 people in the world, those that love to win and those that hate to lose. You're a love to win, I'm definitely a hate to lose. But I guess there are a few kind of key points. Obviously, I've started my audio outsourcing company. I think obviously the first big one for me is definitely getting that first credit under your belt, shipping your first title. I guess what I would say is, as Haz has just said, definitely bet on yourself. If you have capacity to be doing something, definitely be doing it. And also try and do team-ups. Do you know what I mean? If there's people around you, if there's opportunities around you, don't take anything. You know what I mean? You have to be a little bit selfish at times. So, for example, if I want to work for you and you can't pay me, is there a rev share agreement? Or can you do something on my project? There are definitely ways to get projects moving where you don't need capital in place when you get started. But yeah, I think the key milestones in my career, to swing back to that round, is definitely first credit, massively important. First time leading a project, massively important. First time leading a department, massively in project. And now it's first time leading a studio. So it's all about taking those sensible incremental steps where you feel you've kind of gained the experience to be able to make that sensible leap where you feel like, okay, I've accrued enough knowledge to take on this next step.
You've both kind of, where you have that differences in the love to win, hate to lose sort of thing. Your commonality, though, is that you really do believe strongly in that whole idea that if you don't play, you can't win. If you don't jump in, if you don't step forward, there is no opportunity that comes for you. You have to walk towards the opportunities, whether you're taking them for yourselves or not. And I mean, here you are. So hopefully you're taking the right opportunities, the right risks. And I hope that mortgage can come back around for you soon, as.
I've got my flat now.
Okay.
When your missus tells you don't F it up, that's more pressure than an executive, okay?
All right, over to you. Sorry, carry on.
So I feel like the last couple of folks talked about seizing their own opportunities and building something from the ground up. I think one of the big turning points for me was my very first game job, where I was working shoulder to shoulder with like 8 other writers, which is unheard of, throughout the rest of my career. It taught me to collaborate. It taught me to work with a wider team, but it also taught me basically you need to be looking out for the person next to you, and they're going to be looking out for you as well. And I think that's the thing that's carried me for the last 20 years. Solidarity with other workers. Understanding that just because management has the money doesn't necessarily mean that they have the taste. And being able to fight for your own choices because you know how to do good work. And the person next to you knows how to do good work, and you can kind of synthesize that into something great. I wish there was some sort of deeper, great grounded thing that I could pass on to someone else beyond make friends with people that you work with and make alliances with the people that you work with and find solidarity with them. But that's the thing that's kind of stuck to me over the last 20 years. Understand that you are part of their lives and they're part of yours as well. And we're not in competition with one another. We're collaborating with one another. We're building with one another. This industry isn't, I don't know. No one got into this to be casino owners and to, make games that are driving other games out of the industry. We're in this because we love making things. We love sharing stuff with the rest of the world. So how can we enable one another to do that? How can we share knowledge? And how can we pass that on to the next generation? I think those are the things that have fueled me and kind of helped push me forward.
I really like that. I mean, you're connecting with others in that way. You're sharing your humanity with others. Yes, and I think for me, my turning point was when I was age 5. And my dad would come back, he's a surgeon, and he would do laparoscopic surgery. So it was like you minimally invade people, things in here, put a camera down, and then you can like watch above while you operate. And a lot of other doctors would ask him, how did you get good at this? And my dad said, video games. And that's when I knew games can change people, they can transform, they have purpose, they have meaning. And that's also when I knew I didn't have to be a doctor anymore, kid of immigrant parents, all that stress, all gone. And I knew like I wanted to pursue something that could help impact people meaningfully, and you could do it with fun. And the second meaningful moment for me was when my child was born, and I was like, what kind of hell are we leaving them? I mean, we're in the middle of a poly crisis. We can do better, and we can do better with our skill set. And if my skill is in making games, I want to use this skill for good. So that was my turning point.
Excellent. Some very sort of unique and very passionate examples of where you've all come from, the things that have defined you, being the humans and the experts that you are in your fields. I'm really curious what video game would have made your dad good at that surgery. All I can picture is Snake, just navigating those hard right turns. But we'll dig into that off the stage. Now, for a lot of you, there will have some of you have actually touched on a lot of this already, which is that experience of rejections or things not going to plan, things not going in the direction that you would have liked, or maybe just things not happening as fast as you would have liked. And it's quite easy to lose momentum in the games industry. Charlie, you talked a little bit about that isolation as well, that idea of being alone and how having a team, having people with you can really change things. So what I know is a lot of people who are trying to enter the games industry right now will be feeling that sense of isolation and rejection. That's something that I think everyone in a creative industry faces, almost every day, until you're one of the 0.01% maybe who breaks through and no one ever says no to you ever again. I'm looking at you, Hideo Kojima. So listen, I'd like to talk a little bit about the moments that maybe popped up in your career that you felt like might have been the walls or the hurdles that you had to climb, or things that you didn't plan for, if that makes sense. So things that really took you by surprise. And how did that affect you? Did you have to slow down? Did it make you speed up? Did you feel the fire underneath you in the frying pan, so to speak? Jennifer, I'm going to come back to you again, and we're going to go back down the Mexican wave. Moments that slowed you down, surprised you, held you back. But what did you do with that?
Right. I mean, I think one thing that was all throughout the industry was how people would crunch quite late, and especially in America where I had grown up. And I remember like 2 a.m. responding to a boss's email going, what am I doing with my life? And then I moved to Denmark, and people had work-life balance, and people weren't burning out. And it took that big move across taking a risk to be able to realize we can do better, we can have a better lives. But even like the first time I moved to Denmark and I started taking a holiday or a vacation, I was getting sick every vacation because my body wasn't used to that. And then finally, after a while, I got used to it. Now I have to take a vacation all the time. But it's really important to have well-being at one of the highest priorities.
See, I'm going to jump in with a downer. I have been through, in the 20 years that I've been in this industry, 6 rounds of layoffs. I've been laid off 4 of those times. So when I say 6, my friends and coworkers and people that I was intensely loyal to no longer had their jobs at the end of the day. What I learned from that, one, I still belong here after all of that. The first time you lose a job, the first time a job doesn't work out, the first time you're rejected, you have this feeling of maybe not belonging, maybe you're not good enough for this, whatever. No, I'm still here. I still have that skill set. People still find value in what I do, but more than that, I can still find people who are passionate about this work that I can do this alongside. So, I don't know, it's kind of going to the advice phase very, very early. looking at any kind of defeat, any kind of setback, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not supposed to be here. Sometimes things are systemic. Then you got to start thinking, well, what can I change about the system? What can I change at my level to make things better for the people who are coming in after me? What can I make better for the people who are standing next to me? That's kind of what's been driving me over the last, I want to say, 5 years or so.
Yeah, no, I definitely echo that sentiment. Yeah, redundancies happen, especially in this climate. Projects will get cancelled. It is a case of you need some sense of resilience. You need some sense of self-worth. I've been speaking to people in industry for many years now. People from 30 years, people down to like 5 to 1 year. I think everyone has imposter syndrome at some point in their career, and it's normal to feel those setbacks. But you need to remember why you're here and the value you bring to the industry. Generally, we're all here because we want to be here, especially in this climate. Generally, I think if you weren't going to be in games, you probably were left by now. So I think it's important to remember those issues you love and remember that you are important and you deserve to be here.
I mean, I'd love to take it, but I got one. Wow, we're in deep mode here. I think for me, this is me open up to you guys now, but like, I was on a high, right? Making those feature films, doing this TV show. I'm like, yeah, nothing's gonna stop me, man. And I did this animated film, right, called Max Beyond. Think Akira meets The Raid. Sounds pretty cool, right? Done in Unreal 4, epic, financing it and stuff. And then when it came out in 2024, it bombed. And I was like, oh my God, like, I worked on a film that bombed. And everyone, like your agents, your manager goes, yeah, that's not a look good, not a good look. And like your producing partners are like, well, it doesn't look good, And I'm like, well, hang on a sec, guys. Hold up. I mean, I was down for a bit, yeah? But now I'm like, hold up a sec. I made a freaking animated film in a game engine, right? And it got released. Yes, it didn't work out. But there are certain things that you don't have control over. I can't control the market. I can try the best to make the best possible movie. This sounds like therapy. But in reality, it made me stronger. It made me think it's okay to fail. And I feel like we're in a culture sometimes that no one talks about their failures. Everyone goes on stage and says, hey man, I did the Sting, I won tons of awards, blah, 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 right? But once in a while, talk about your failures, because your failures is what makes you what you are today. It gives you those red flags. It gives you those warnings. But also, it makes you rethink like where you want to go. So after making an animated film, I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a video game. Why not? And I got people saying, don't make a video game, dude. You're nuts. I'm like, I'm going to make a video game. And I'm glad. So embrace your failure because it makes you who you are today.
I'm going to say that's some great advice there. I give the same advice to people who want to be mentors in Limit Break as well. I always say to them, yeah, it's good to talk about your failures and the pitfalls because, what do I say to people now? So I say your experience is like hindsight for a person. So like maybe in like your life, you're kind of like, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. If you were a mentor to someone else, then it's like, hey, you're kind of going into the same kind of pitfall that I was going in. This is what I learned from it. This is how you can kind of circumnavigate it. So I think that's great. Kind of like, take that kind of the sort of negative aspects and kind of find that positive and find those learning experiences as well. I'm going to try not to be too depressing with stuff as well. So I think there's like 2 moments that I can think of that were kind of like difficult hurdles that I kind of like overcame. I think one was when I was trying to transition from games educate into the games industry, because I built up a lot of these sort of like soft skills and transferable skills that I felt were applicable for like production or QA roles, because I think like if you can handle like a room of like 15 like hormonal teenagers, I'm pretty sure you can handle adults like working on a game. So I was kind of getting a bit bummed out that I was sending out like similar to yourself, like 20, 30 applications, not getting anything. That's the worst bit, when they just get like radio silence. But I remember like speaking to someone at I think it was like the second opening ceremony at Limit Break actually, where I talked to them about my previous work experience, and they were saying that like, oh, you've got tons of like knowledge and expertise and transferable skills that would be appropriate for being a producer if you were trying to go down that route. So I guess I kind of learned from that was like, oh, maybe I had to kind of make it a bit more obvious in like my CV and cover letters, like how those skills in sort of like my other jobs that aren't games industry specific can transfer over. It's like, okay, this is how it's applicable to that. So it's like, just trying to pinpoint those sort of things. I think as well recently, and sorry if it gets a bit like depressing, but like I was living abroad in Tenerife because I was working for a games company there, and it was my very first time kind of living alone, and especially living abroad as well, because like we were kind of coming out of COVID, and I was kind of like had that hunger to be like, you know what, yeah, I want to kind of explore the world because I've been stuck inside for like 2 years at that point. So I was like, you know, I want to kind of venture out a little bit, and I kind of dipped my toes into being a producer, and I was doing well for a while, but then I just hit this like mental wall where I was struggling to do my day job and struggling to do like my own personal projects and like limit break stuff and everything, and I just couldn't get over this hurdle. And I wasn't like being lazy about it. I was genuinely trying to put the effort in to be better. So I got like a mentor. I was going to counselling and stuff to try to help me kind of overcome this mental blockade. And there were some circumstances that happened at the workplace where I kind of took a step back and said, you know what, I think I'm just going to take a break. So I kind of just like I quit my job. I didn't have a job lined up. I was just like, I just need a break from just stuff and just kind of like recuperate, kind of just refocus a little bit, and then, you know, just see what happens. Because I learned as well, like what you were saying, like, you know, you're not fully in control. Like, you know, you have to kind of just realize that, okay, in life, you know, things are out of your control. Don't try to harp on that too much. You know, just kind of go with the flow a little bit. So I kind of relearned that a few years ago and came back to the UK, and quite a blessing. I got my current job as a part-time game tutor as well. But I think just taking that break and just being like, okay, I'm in a better place mentally. I feel like, you know, I've got more energy in me that I can now kind of get back to what I'm passionate about, you know, and trying to give it like my all. To a degree, I'm trying not to kind of burn myself. I always tell you, like, you know, I always say to Jonas, like, oh, I'm a bit burnt out. I'm just trying to take a break from some stuff here. So I'm trying to be more active and trying to looking after my mental health so I can be like the best tutor, the best like team member, the best version of myself, basically.
A lot to follow up from. No, I think for me, like when it comes to like hardships and stuff like that, it's more from a content creator perspective. So, you know, when I started, there was great momentum. I was very consistent. COVID hit, even more consistent because everyone was inside, right? Everybody's like watching and seeing what you're doing. But when COVID ended, I moved to Australia, and I was there for 2 years. Bearing in mind 11 to 12 hour time difference when my main core was, you know, the UK and the States, was very, very difficult. I lost at least half of my community from it. And it was really hard to start building up that community again. But I had to push through it because it's something that I know I'm good at, something that I enjoy. Then when I moved back here, the community that I built in Australia fell off because, again, time differences and everything like that. And then, again, trying to rebuild from the community here because they're like, are you back? Are you on holiday? Like, what is your thing? And I'm just like, well, let's just wait and see. I'm here. So, you know, trying to build that up from, you know, a high point to a low point. And it was literally a whole back and forth, quite a lot. And it was like, you know what? If I stop, then I've defeated my own self, and I don't want to do that. I want to win. I want to succeed. I want to build. So I kept going. I started pushing a lot more harder on places like Twitch and YouTube. Then, you know, some really amazing community members were like, you should apply for ambassador. You should do this. And I'm like, I can't be asked. And they're like, no, we love what you do. And it's that recognition that kind of allowed the pin to drop. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to push, I'm going to keep going. As soon as I made ambassador and stuff like that, I was like, I want to build the agency. And a lot of people were like, oh, no, don't do that. There's a lot of gaming agencies out there. They're going to swarm you. And I'm like, I'm just going to make my agency different, make it unique, something that no agency does, which I have now. And, you know, the proof is in the pudding. We're building, we're growing. So, yeah, from hardships, you get something good.
Thank you for taking us through all of that. All of you have definitely climbed hurdles that will resonate hopefully with people in the audience, whether they're hurdles that they're currently facing or that they're hurdles that they might face, you know, perhaps a week or a year from now. And I hope that, you know, just hearing a little bit of how the Ensemble crew this year have handled their own hurdles, I hope that a lot of you can transfer those into your experiences. Hopefully you don't have those experiences, the first thing I say. Hopefully everyone just managed to glide through, no red shells, no bumps, no bananas, no slips. But we all know what this industry is like, and we know that it is hard to get through it unscathed. So thank you for taking us through those experiences. I want to now sort of really ask you all to kind of think of, this is almost going to be a little bit of like a one-liner from you all, really, but what would you say to someone who kind of wants to follow in your footsteps? You know, what piece of advice would you have for them? What would you tell them to do or not do, I think is perhaps really important. And perhaps there's a little bit of a self-plug if you want to as well. Like, how can people maybe learn more about what you do or your organization or your work? How can people follow in your footsteps after we all leave the stage today? So again, we're going to bring the Mexican wave background. Yes, so we are starting over with you. Please.
Okay, so one piece of advice that I would give anyone, do not let imposter syndrome beat you, because that's what will stop you. Again, like for me, if you guys want to find me, I'm everywhere. I'll be on Twitch as Indeedy. You'll see me walking around here, so find me. My agency is Beyond, and what I teach my creators there is to, you know, shoot for the stars, because the worst that can happen is you'll land on the moon.
Shoot for the stars.
I'm trying to think right now.
Haroon in the thinking man pose.
I think the important thing I always tell people is that like there are like sort of different avenues and different paths in the industry. Like you don't just have to be like a programmer, designer, an artist. I think like there are multiple different vocations that, yeah, like everyone here on the panel, like, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of role you're in, you're still a game developer, you're still part of the industry. I think that's something that I think Rami Ismail said like a few years ago, and that's kind of stuck with me for a very long time, is like, you know, if you work in HR, if you work in finance, you know, in a games company, you know, you are a part of this industry, you are a game developer. So I think just like, you know, being a part of the community is the most important thing, because there's so many wonderful, amazing, talented, beautiful people that will help and support you and, like, you know, motivate and uplift you if you just reach out to them. If you do reach out to me, I will apologize in advance. I'm terrible at replying on LinkedIn, so it might be like 3 weeks before you get a reply from me. But I'm always happy to like give advice and help people out. And I think a lot of people here, you know, speak to some of the great indie developers right now. They're more than happy to kind of like chat to you about their game or chat to you about their experiences. And that's a great thing, is that it's such a collaborative industry, a collaborative ecosystem that we're all trying to uplift and motivate each other, especially now with like how the industry's been in a bit of a rough spot for the last couple of years, like more so than ever, you know, we're trying to kind of help each other out.
Man, I've got to follow up with that. that's deep. Okay, Hersey, there's no one from Nike here, is there? Or Nike? Okay, there's a reason for this. My advice is literally just do it. Literally, just like, you want to write a screenplay, do it. You want to make a game, do it. Whatever you say, do it. Everyone has different circumstances. We get it, you know, but figure out a way to do it. We live in a world today where there's literally no excuse not to make something. If you want to write, get a pen and paper. You want to make a movie? We have these amazing devices that shoot 4K. You want to make a game? Download some free engine and just start making stuff. Put it out there. Literally, there is no excuse, so just do it.
I like it. I guess if I can say, obviously your skill sets are super important. If I can be personal for a second, I never discourage my sons from anything they want to do. They're very young right now, so I'm just like, guys, I can't tell you what job's going to be here in 20 years. I literally have no idea. But I feel like skills that will definitely be important throughout the time are soft skills. I can't tell you what hard skills will be relevant, but soft skills, teamwork, being personal, being fair, being trustworthy in an environment will definitely serve you along the way. Again, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I am trying to be more active on my socials. And again, yeah, just send me a cheeky message, say you met me here on LinkedIn, and I will accept, and yeah, we can chat, and I will do my best to help you in any way I can.
I'm going to be really sneaky and offer 3 pieces of advice. 2 very short, 1 a little longer. Point of advice number 1. Join your dang old union. If you are a game worker, join the union. Point the second. If you can participate in any kind of mentorship, you know, jump into Limit Break, something like that. Get a mentor, be a mentor. Just provide the skills that you have to other people. Help build them up. The third point, be a dang old freak. And I mean this respectfully. Whatever you're making, whatever you're creating, don't fall into the marketability trap. Don't fall into the relatability trap. What you're making should come from you, should access whatever sex, faith, race, personality, persona that you've got that you want to put out there into the world. Don't just bury it for the sake of marketability. Make something that is uniquely you. It's going to find an audience. It may be small, but it's going to find an audience.
He took mine. Get your freak on is basically no. But yes, I mean, there's this concept in business of your unique selling point, your USP. I want to take it one step further. And what is your unique value proposition? What kind of values do you have to share with the world? What's special about you? What is your way that you want to have an impact on the world? And then lean into it, succinctify it, and then share it with me. And I'd love to collaborate or at least chat or just connect with you. Let's do it. Get your freak on. What else?
Amazing. Thank you very much, everyone. So I'm going to wrap up this panel with one last thing, and I hope that everyone on the panel will support me in doing this. But we are all united by Ensemble. I was showcased last year, and it was easily just one of the biggest highlights of my life. I absolutely love it. But it's not done by some invisible process. There is someone working really hard behind the scenes who makes Ensemble happen every single year. So I hope that everyone on stage will just join me in celebrating Shana Jackson, who is with us today. Shana, you have done such a wonderful job. This is the 8th year of Ensemble. That is 8 times 8, 54, no, it's 62 people. I'm not good at maths, so someone fix me. That is a lot of people who have all had their careers, their unique defining moments, their strengths and their weaknesses, their personalities brought to the surface and celebrated and shown to this entire industry to show that there is so much more than you know out there, that there are people who have experiences and representations that hopefully you can attach yourself onto and see yourself in. So just everyone in the audience, please, just one huge applause now for Shana Jackson and the Ensemble crew of 2026. Congratulations.
And to Jonas, who is an amazing moderator and just a cool orator and everything about it. You're just really awesome.
How dare you. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you to our panelists. We are done. So now I'm sort of the host again. So I'm going to run over here and say thank you for coming to the Ensemble panel. The camera has to keep up with me.